boy Bill, I will see that he's named after me. I will.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome. We now have a new interviewer and a new manager of the video. It's my son, Misha.
Hello everyone, nice to meet everyone, and hope you will enjoy me coming onto the new show.
We also have Mickey here because somebody, a very nice lady called Mrs. Bones from Virginia Beach, Virginia, does dog collars and sent Mickey this very rather smart dog collar. Look at it. Oh, Mix, go on. Let everybody see your beautiful dog collar, honey. Yes, yes. Isn't that smart? And thank you very much, Mrs. Bones. Mickey is very appreciative as well.
Yes.
And it's smart, isn't it?
It's a lovely one, Union Jack and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Okay, so are you ready to hit me with the first question?
I am ready to hit you with the first question. So we're going to start off with a question on a light note today. And our first question is...
You have to read it.
Lady C, do you see any similarities between Princess Grace of Monaco and Meghan, both American actresses who are married royals?
Okay. Yes, well, I suppose there are similarities, but there are substantial differences. The similarities, of course, are that they were both American actresses. They were both good looking, they were both stylish and glamorous. I think there are substantial differences as well, some of which may not be apparent. Princess Grace was the consort of a sovereign. Mm-hmm. So Princess Grace was always going to occupy the starring role, which she was very adept at. She was an Oscar-winning actress. She was a huge A-lister in Hollywood. She was one of the top stars of her day. She also got married at 26, so she was much younger than Meghan was when Meghan got married. The Monaco ruling family is actually not royal, which most people don't realize. They are a ruling family. There's a slight difference. But putting that distinction aside, Princess Grace was an exemplary consort. I met her once or twice, and she was a really nice, kind, beautiful looking woman. Mm-hmm. And she was also very dignified. She took her role very seriously. Sorry. She understood the spiritual elements of the role, and you couldn't fault her performance. She had a very rough ride initially because a lot of the royals looked down on her initially. An actress, sort of, but she turned out to be really very good in the role.
That's good.
And Meghan, of course, was never going to be number one, which has been a part of the problem. Meghan also does not have consistency. Princess Grace had consistency. Princess Grace was once asked the question, what would she like to be remembered as having been? And she said, I would like to be remembered for having been a decent woman who tried her best.
That's good.
Had Meghan had that sort of genuinely humble attitude, things would have been completely different. So, I think Meghan could have learned an awful lot from Princess Grace. Meeting her, she was very nice, she was very natural, she wasn't affected, she wasn't full of herself, she had a great sense of humour. She didn't speak down to anybody. It didn't matter whether you were one of the little people or somebody who she could hitch her train to and gain mileage from. She treated everyone the way a true lady treats everyone, which is the same. She never talked down to servants. She was a really exemplary consort. So I think next question.
Yeah,
Do you find it interesting?
Yeah, I do. It's pretty nice, especially very interesting for everybody to find out what these people do and everything like that.
Well, you know, because Princess Grace, of course, died long before you were born. Sorry, I've got a frog in my
a lot
throat.
of the people that you know have died a long time before I was born.
I know, but she really died young. She died in 1982, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I remember the afternoon she died. I was playing tennis with Ernst Clarice.
Yes.
And the announcement came on the radio that 2 princesses had been involved in a serious car crash. And I had seen her about 2-3 weeks before. She'd been in London for the Red Cross Ball, which I was on the committee of and helped to organise. And she came over with Stephanie. And I remember saying to Ernst, I wonder who those 2 princesses are. And it turned out to be Princess Grace. And everybody was so genuinely grief-stricken because she was such a lovely woman.
I bet. And it's such a bad way to go out in a car accident nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, Hans.
All right. So the next one will be a little bit more serious on our next questions. So let's get this out. Hopla. So our next question. Are you aware that Meghan Markle used to advertise Aesop post-poo drops on the TIG? Sorry, on the TIG? TIG?
On the TIG.
On the TIG, okay.
That is her website also.
Okay.
That is her. So start over again from the top.
Are you aware that Meghan Markle used to advertise Aesop post-poo drops on the TIG and recommended putting them into the lavatory bowl before having a poo? That is some question.
Well, very appropriate. Very appropriate.
Very serious.
Very appropriate, actually, on many levels. No, I was not aware of this. I didn't even know that you could buy drops for lavatories.
Yes.
And I think, I know that you have, air fresheners.
Yes.
But I think, well, if people want to spend their money on things like that, I suppose it's up to them. I think it's rather appropriate that Meghan would have done something like that, because it turns out that she's really rather good at manufacturing the brown stuff and spreading it everywhere and creating an almighty stink. So maybe she's rather hoping to go into the business of Meghan Markle's poo neutralizer.
That would be a nice brand.
Now, shall we have another question?
Right. So we do have a more serious question because the previous one was actually a little bit more funnier. So Vanity Fair and other magazines stated that the couples cooperated months ago. Only after the Times serialization have they issued a denial. Descriptions to get maximum money out of the Times, Oprah magazine.
Okay, I take it that question refers to Amit Scabies and Cowering Durrant's book, Funding Freedom and Finding Freebies, which evidently I have now seen various assertions by Vanity Fair. Meghan and Harry were cooperating and that they were bringing out their version of events to put the story right. Well, I do not know if they issued their denial because the book had been serialized in the Times and it was really to ratchet up the money financially, which would be deception and would be completely dishonorable. And many people would do something like that, but I don't think it would be creditable. Or what could be an even simpler explanation is that when Meghan and Harry realised that the reaction to the serialization and the content that they had cooperated with that book was so adverse, and that they appeared to be so spoilt, entitled, self-indulgent, vindictive, abusive of everybody's kindness, that at that point they decided we better put distance between ourselves and the book. So we're going to deny that we leaked any of it. But it's rather too late, because of course they can't deny that they can deny that they leaked it, but nobody's dumb enough to think that they were not the sources and that they did not cooperate. First of all, they haven't sued. If they had not cooperated, they would by now have sued or issued the threat of suing. I mean, they're suing the Mail on Sunday over a far less serious violation of their privacy than the content of funding freebies, and which, you know, shows very clearly that Meghan and Harry, I mean, they go into their moods, where they were in the bath, what yoga pose she was in, what thought was passing through her head, what thought was passing through his nether regions, as he sprang into action because he's so in love with Megsy baby. And so I think that they have convinced nobody, but they have shown everybody that they are duplicitous, that they are only too happy to put distance between themselves and anybody who looks as if they're gonna in some way fall foul of public opinion. It's a very unsavory exercise. But do I think it was deliberate deception? I honestly don't know. I think it's certainly been calculated, disclaiming when it's quite obvious that they have no foundation for disclaiming their cooperation, because it is just impossible that amid scabies and cowering Durand could have put in some of the stuff that they put into the book if it didn't come directly from Meghan and Harry. And so not only is the fact speaking for itself of the content, but there's also the fact that in the lead up to it, there was a considerable amount of publicity stating that they were putting the record straight on behalf of Meghan and Harry, and there was no denial. I think it's yet another cynical exercise on Harry and Meghan's part, and I have to say, I really do wish that they would actually maybe join integrity classes, or at least, you know, maybe if they could both get sore throats and maybe, you know, a little bit of tongue swelling to stop the verbal diarrhea flowing as freely as it does, because aside from anything else, they're just insulting the public's intelligence by, you know, this constant pretense of innocence, when, you know, everybody knows they're no more innocent than a bar of soap. Now, did you find that interesting?
Yeah, I do.
You did?
Very much.
Okay.
So shall we move on to our next question?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. All right. Our next question today is, Omi Scobie said that Meghan Markle wrote a letter knowing it would be used. What do you think of Meghan setting up pap shots of herself?
Okay, well, those are two questions in one that somebody has asked. So I'll take the first one first and the second one second. Okay. Well, if Amid Scabies has written previously stating that Meghan had written the letter to her father knowing it would be used, I think it will be very interesting for the Mail on Sunday to have access to that information, because of course Meghan's lawsuit against the Mail on Sunday is based upon the fact that her 5 friends, her nameless 5 friends, who people are very naughtily saying are Meghan, 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 and Meghan, which is very naughty of them, is that they all took it upon themselves to rescue her at a time that she was pregnant and her mental health was in distress because people were criticizing her for the constant belly clutching and wearing obscenely tight dresses while displaying her bump. And this was affecting her mental health very seriously, to such an extent that Harry went to the Queen and to Prince Charles and tried to get them to muzzle the press, and they wouldn't muzzle the press. And so she then, I suppose, in desperation, complained to her 5 friends, each of whom took it upon themselves to go to People magazine and to all together, I mean, as well, or one after the other, very coincidentally, at a unique time to rescue poor Megsie baby again from the clutches of this beastly press. Are you as grief-stricken as I am?
Coincidence that it's at the same time as well. It's all set up, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
it does seem to be a setup, doesn't it? Poor Megsie baby, and everybody's been so beastly to her. Well, if Omid Scobie has said that previously in print, I think this is something that you might actually find that the Mail on Sunday will ultimately use in its lawsuit against Meghan. So there's that. The second part of the question, if I remember correctly, is Meghan setting up pap shots.
It was.
Yeah. Well, leopards don't change their spots, and it's very apparent to me, having been in the public eye for 50 years, I can tell when something has been orchestrated and when it hasn't, as can anybody if either not in the public eye, certainly who has anything to do with publicity and the press, etc. And I think it shows that Meghan has always been fame hungry, which is what people have said and what they told me in my book, and I go into the fact that Meghan is fame hungry. And the mere fact that Meghan and Harry are now in LA, in Hollywood, completely accessible to everybody, when had they been in England they would have been inaccessible, so it rather reveals that they are actually not at all interested in privacy but in publicity. And there is little doubt that in my mind that if she personally doesn't set things up, which she clearly does, because I mean they every 2 or 3 days they post something or leak something, even though they're supposed to be private individuals. And there's no doubt in my mind that some of the pap shots that she is now complaining about have not been completely accidental. But of course, Meghan is a professional victim, which leads on to a comment that led on to another question that we discussed previously, which I'd like you to read out.
Yes, of course.
So,
in Harry's own words, he spoke on a radio show saying Meghan has found the family she has never had. Now they're complaining that William was snobbish when he referred Meghan as this girl. Yet Harry refers to her as this girl in their engagement interview. Aren't they simply scratching around in the gutter, pretending to be victims?
Well, I could not have put it better myself had I tried.
It's a good one.
It is a good one,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. Yes, well, I mean, in fact, Harry's comment on the radio show on Boxing Day when they were engaged, that Meghan had finally found the family that she had never had, was what precipitated the tremendous anger from the Markle family, as you will know only too well because you're friendly with Tyler.
Yes.
And this caused a tremendously hostile and justifiably outraged reaction from the Markle family, because up until then they had always been extremely supportive of all Meghan's endeavours and initiatives.
Yes.
So that shows right there that she was already playing the victim to Harry and pretending that she came from a very disadvantaged background and that she'd had such a hard life. Well, all of this, of course, is in my book, I should say, in rather more detail than here.
Yes, I thought it would.
Because, I mean, in a book, you know, you can actually go into the nuances and explain what people's conduct will mean in a certain situation, and so you get to the heart and soul of the matter, and you get to the person's core in a way that it's not possible to do in a video or even in a conversation. You really, that's where books are invaluable.
Yes.
And that's why I always recommend to you children that you read, because nothing, and I don't mean magazine articles either, but because nothing beats a book.
Yes.
And so that is interesting because, of course, yes, that was what was the catalyst for the Markles realizing that Meghan was unfairly bad-mouthing them. And she not only did it to the royal family, but then, thanks to Harry spilling the beans, it was in front of the whole of the world, and it humiliated and embarrassed them unfairly and unjustly. And the second part of the question
was William referring her as this
oh,
girl.
yes. And yes, and this again, thank you, honey. And this again is, of course, shows how Meghan has been looking around and scratching around like a chicken in a chicken coop. Scratch, 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 let me see what I can find to feed my hostility, and what can I dish up for Harry. You know, she's like Iago in Othello, dripping poison into Othello's air about Desdemona, and driving him mad. And I mean, Shakespeare wrote about this in this really quite wonderful play. And I can see parallels between that behaviour and Meghan's behaviour, because, I mean, Harry is always very quick off the mark, but Harry would not have been looking for hostility from his brother if Meghan wasn't there pushing fire and, saying, oh, H, your family doesn't like me, your family, even though, of course, they were busy lying to the public and telling the public how wonderful Meghan had been treated by the family and how everybody embraced the family. So either they were lying then or they're lying now. But they can't, the absolute opposite can't be true 2 years later. And ironically enough, it's absolutely true. Harry refers to Meghan in their engagement video. The interview with I think it was the BBC, and he refers to Meghan as this girl in her presence. Yes. And neither one of them has thought to complain about it. No. Neither one of them thought to get it edited out. So why is it okay for Harry to use an expression that is perfectly simple and straightforward? Yes. And also, you will know that upper class people use different expressions from other people. For instance, there's nothing wrong in the upper classes in saying you people, meaning someone else. Well, in other circles, it's regarded as a put down, but in upper class circles, it's not regarded as a put down. Also, in upper class circles, people use pronouns and nobody thinks anything of it, I've never been offended by somebody referring to me as she. They don't need to use my name, even in my presence. While in other circles, that's regarded as a big... So I think Meghan has been scratching around, finding all sorts of reasons to pump up Harry's resentment against his family. And well spotted, whoever it is who spotted that, because it's absolutely true, because it is in the interview. And if it was okay for Harry to do it, it had to be okay for William to do the same thing. And all this abuse that William and Catherine have been given for stupidities like, oh, I was going to the shops and she didn't offer me a lift. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, it's a 5-minute walk. You're supposed to be very physically active. Yes. Everybody knows you're physically active. Everybody would assume that you wanted to walk to the shops. I mean, it's, this constant moaning on their behalf that Meghan must always be pandered to and catered to. And Meghan's so sensitive that she has to be spoon-fed at every minute. It's just ludicrous. I mean, it's insanity.
So, Mum, it's very sad. Harry was such a nice guy when I used to know him when I was quite younger. Do you think he's going to be able to retrieve his situation?
Well, honey, that's a good question to ask, and I'm glad that you've asked it, because I know you used to like Harry and William, and they were really good with you guys,
they were
weren't
fun.
they?
Played football with polo ball and all that. It was pretty fun meeting them.
And they were really nice to you guys, because you're, 10 years, 12 years younger than they are?
Yes, 10 years when you think about it, yes.
And so, I mean, it really was to their credit that they used to play with you guys so nicely. And I'm glad you have fond memories of him. I think there is a way back, actually. I think if Harry and Meghan would simply acknowledge the fact to themselves that they have shot off on a very adverse path, that what they're doing is destructive, not constructive, and that they want to retrieve the situation, but they need to want to retrieve the situation. I think it's very simply retrieved, actually. I think they simply go quiet for a few months, blame it on their mental health, and that she had problems adjusting, and, just either come back here and understand that they need to play ball and behave themselves properly, and forget about being the emperor and empress of worlddom and newspapers all over the world, instead of being the greatest stars that ever lived, just be who they are, which is certainly grand enough. It's one of the grandest positions on earth, and anybody who isn't happy with that really does have serious problems psychologically and mentally, and really does need to address that issue. And, just blame it on their mental health, say they were having a breakdown, however they dress it up. And I think that people would be willing to forgive and put them on a bit of probation, and, if they behave themselves properly and treat the British people and the British public and the British royal family and everybody who treated them well with the respect that everybody deserves. I think there is a way back. I don't think they're ever going to be as adulated as they were. I think all that mass adoration has gone. They've blown it. But I think there is a way back. But it requires acknowledgement on their part, in a real sense, that they have taken a misstep and that they are prepared to behave the way that everybody expected them to. Which really is only reasonable. You know, good behavior is not a punishment. Good behavior should be its own reward. And if they regard it as a punishment, that shows that they really do have serious problems. But these are not problems that make them likable. These will be problems that will make them even more disliked than they already are. But I think, yes, there is a way back. And I'm glad you brought it up, honey. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
Okay. So I think, though,
yeah,
do you think this is...
Good interview. Very nice. I'm happy with the questions.
You are?
Yeah, good in questions.
Now, they're going to, I think maybe in the next interview, we can maybe give something a little bit different. What do you think? That
it's all up to you. It's your show. You decide.
Well, no, I want your input as well.
Yes, of course, but I'm here to help.
Okay, thank you. Give me a kiss. Oh, that's my boy.
Yes.
My treasured baby boy. I'm not embarrassing you, am I?
Just a tiny bit.
Tiny bit. Do you want to cut it out?
No, I'm fine with it.
You're fine with it?
Yeah, of course, always.
Okay. You know that I love nobody more than you and Choosy Woozy.
Yes, I do know.
Well, Mickey's a close third. Where is Mickey?
Just taking the sun in.
Yeah. Okay, so, well, I think that's about it for today. May I suggest that everybody keep on asking their questions? Maybe, I think, actually, for the next interview, maybe we shouldn't do, because, I mean, okay, the Meghan and Harry thing is very topical at the moment,
yes.
But there are all sorts of other things in the world as well.
Like Trump banning TikTok?
Yeah, etc. But do you think we could, maybe next time we can have at least other questions that don't relate to Meghan? Don't you think that's a good idea?
A little bit of a mixture, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think so.
On.
Yeah.
Especially at the times now, with everything going on, there's quite a lot of interesting questions out there to be asked. Yes. And you've got an interesting lady that will reply to them.
Thank you, honey. Thank you. Well, okay, so maybe if everybody could ask whatever questions they want answered. You can ask about Harry and Meghan as well, but we're going to do at least half of them not on Harry and Meghan. Okay?
Yes.
At least half.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Okay, because there are some really interesting questions that have already been asked.
Yes.
About other things.
I was reading some are very up there, and we should be getting them out as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, honey.
No,
thank you. It's been really wonderful having you as my interviewer.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh.
Well, thank you everybody, and I hope everybody enjoyed the videos, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.